Welcome to a News of the Day kind of video. And I want to address Bear here. She sleeps in the bed with us all night, and then in the morning it's bath time. So while I'm doing my videos, it's bath time, and then she sleeps all afternoon, whether I'm on the treadmill, watching TV, whatever I'm doing. She just sleeps all afternoon. People mention, like, wow, she does it. Yeah, this is her time. She knows I'm doing videos, so this is her time. She knows that I'm not available. As soon as I sit down or I do something else, she's back up in my lap going to sleep. So, because I know in videos frequently she's bathing herself. And there's been a lot of comments. So that's addressed. Mystery solved. It is that time of day. Hometown Hockey released their schedule today, so if you go to the Sportsnet site, they have their Hometown Hockey schedule released. I had to check it out. On December 15th, they will be in Abbotsford. So I will go to that. I have no reason not to go where I live. Last year, I didn't end up going to it. But this year, yeah, we can go. I think I know exactly where they'll hold it, and that's not too far from where I am. So that should be fun. Looking forward to that. We may even make a meetup out of it. Sounds good. A little over 3 months away. So that's something for those of us in Canada. You can go check out their hometown hockey schedule and see when Tara and Ron McLean will be near you. The interesting thing too is that when hometown hockey started on Rogers, this was Ron McLean being taken away from Coach's Corner and given this show. And it was kind of like just this afterthought of hometown hockey, and they pull him off Coach's Corner and put George Strombolopoulos in there instead, and it didn't work. So now Ron McLean's both on Coach's Corner and has this. And I think it's a testament to how good Ron McLean is at his job. I know not everybody likes Ron McLean a whole lot, but he is good at his job, and this is why he is still on Coach's Corner, and he's still got his own show, Hometown Hockey, as well. So hopefully he's properly reimbursed for that. Judging by how much money that Sportsnet/Rogers has let go over the last few months, how much money they make, I'd say he's probably well taken care of. There's a lot of talk about Justin Faulk and a trade to the Anaheim Ducks. Here's the problem. First off, the Ducks were on his no-trade list. So they couldn't trade him there without his permission. Now, before he gets traded there, and it could happen before this video goes live, he has to get an extension. He wants an extension from the Ducks before he gets traded there. I don't blame him. You know what? At this point, he's a veteran. He wants to make sure it's not just a rental situation. He doesn't want to move himself and his family, and then a year from now, be moving them somewhere else. So he's saying, you know what? If the Ducks want me, I want them to prove they want me, and I want them to sign me long term, or at least give me an extension so I don't have to worry about this next summer. I'm okay with that. That's fine. So watch and see if there's a deal made over the next day or two. Since this is so publicly known, I would say it's very close to being a done deal, and they can't go back now. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. And of course, the worst case scenario you can have is that a trade would almost happen and you'd find out what the Ducks were going to give up. So for those players, it's like, oh, they don't really want us. We've seen that before where a trade gets nullified, and you always kind of feel bad for guys where you're like, oh, your name was publicly attached to a trade. You kind of know that the team you're playing for really wouldn't mind giving you up. It's got to kind of hurt a little bit. Bill Guerin, new general manager of the Minnesota Wild, says they've made a fair offer to Kevin Fiala, and it kind of sounds like that's it. So Fiala rejects that offer. Fiala won't be with the Wild to start the season. At least that's kind of how it sounds. I'm not sure what demand Fiala could be making, to be honest. I like Kevin Fiala. I think he's okay, but I don't think he's a guy that you look at holding out into the season and say, wow, this team's really going to miss Kevin Fiala. He kind of needs to play. So I would imagine that a contract will get signed over the next couple of days. Want to talk a little bit about the 2020 draft. If you go over to TSN, Craig Button's draft projections are there. They're going to change a lot. However, for Canadian hockey fans, it looks like the 2020 draft is going to have a lot more Canadians in the top of the first round, that first half of that first round, than it did last year. A lot of American content. And the American team, that national development team, really had a lot of good prospects. And I was told by hockeyprospect.com last year, yeah, they're going to be great this year. but in 2020 there won't be as many American teenagers who go in the first round as in 2019. So it looks like that's still going to be the case, although keep in mind they haven't started playing yet, and things can change quickly. So we'll see how things turn out. But right now, Lafreniere looks like he's going to be the number one pick, and we'll see if that ends up being the case next June. Pavel Zacha may have a deal with the Devils, and I've got a question mark here because I don't know what's going on with Zacha. So the report came out he might sign in the KHL. The report came out he had signed in the KHL. The report came out that Ray Shero couldn't care less what he did or where he signed or what happened. And now there's a report today that he may have a deal with Ray Shero and the Devils, and it could be announced today. I don't know. It's becoming quite the soap opera for Pavel Zacha, so we'll see where he ends up. I get the feeling he's going to stay with the Devils. I think the KHL is more of a threat. Kind of like, yeah, well, I could go there. And he's like, and? No, wait, no. Seriously, I want to play for New Jersey. So it may all turn out to be a weird sort of negotiating tactic for Shero. And we'll see. Danny Ryland, who's the National Women's Hockey League commissioner, says it's not going anywhere. So even though the women have said we're not playing, she's like, we're not going anywhere. This is going to work, and we're going to. Here's the thing, and I only mention this because it keeps getting brought up in the news over and over and over again. I agree with people who say if people don't support the game, then women's professional hockey is doomed. I am 100% in agreement. I also make the statement, and I believe this, that it has been horribly promoted and it's been really poorly organized. But I also get the argument of, yeah, but nobody's going to watch it. Fine. The amount of people who would watch women's hockey is going to be small. Where I have a problem is this. I think that there's a middle ground here. I think there are people who are really, really excited about what women's hockey could become that I go, maybe temper those a little bit. And then there are people like, this shouldn't exist at all, that I think, well, wait, it can exist. It's just a matter of how it exists. And right now, with the way all this is going, I don't see an end in sight because everybody's just dug in. And I think we're going to see a prolonged... And the problem is this. When you've already got a product that's struggling to get attention and interest, and you're shutting it down, and I understand why the players are talking about shutting it down and want to shut it down and have shut it down, but it doesn't help their case. So it is this really large issue for them that for people watching this video right now are probably like, come on, we're talking about this again? Yeah, because it's in the news. And it keeps getting put up on sites like, whether it's ESPN, TSN, Sportsnet, Yahoo, whatever, wherever you might consume hockey content, even NHL.com, they will be talking about this because it is very noteworthy. It feels like women's hockey that started to come to the fore in the late 80s, early 90s, that it's finally at that make or break point. And whether you say it's going to break and it's just going to die, fine. Or whether you're of the opinion of, it can survive in some form, okay. But it feels like we're at that point where it's going to do one or the other. I will say this. I disagree that if I went out tomorrow and I put together a professional league, and all right, here's Hockey Guys Professional League, and nobody came out to watch it, I can't stand there and say, this is going to work. This is going to be great. Because I look crazy. So I will say that. When I see somebody going, it's not going anywhere, this could be great, everything's going to be awesome. I don't know. I don't know that I can get on board with that either. I'm not doom and gloom, but I'm also not one of these, everything's going to be great, and it's going to make all kinds of money, and it may never make a lot of money. It may never make very much at all. But, it's a situation that it feels like we're not seeing the end of it yet, and I really think the answer is something that's not a league. I think that's where we're getting caught up. I think that's where there's a problem, is that for women and for women's sports, the answer may not be having a league at all. It might be having tournaments and having some sort of organization amongst themselves that just makes it work better. And I'm wondering where it's going to end up, but I don't think there's going to be a league that's going to work. So we'll see. Now, that being said, moving along, the NHL and NHLPA talking about leagues, and this one is going to be working in the fall. They're meeting again. It's supposed to meet today. We haven't heard a word. We haven't heard a peep out of the NHL's Players Association about how the NHL are being big dumb jerks. We haven't heard a word from NHL owners about how the players are being greedy. We haven't heard a word out of Gary Bettman about how a model doesn't work. This is great. This is the first time that I've seen the NHL and the NHLPA negotiate ever. Basically, since Alan Eagleson was taken off to jail and you went, oh, God, he was corrupt. And basically, since then, we've never had this kind of calm, tranquility. So I am very optimistic that as we sit 5 days out from the deadline, the NHLPA is going to go, all right, we won't reopen the agreement. It's going to exist till 2022, and then we can talk about some kind of extension and some kind of just modifying the salary cap. I don't think escrow is going to be a deal breaker because, and I've talked about this recently, I don't think escrow has to be a deal breaker. There's been a lot of talk in the media about whether it is or isn't, and I'm on the side that it's not a deal breaker because I think, and I love Travis Yost's argument about why the escrow is a symptom of a problem. The escrow is not the problem. So, again, these are all things they can deal with it at a board table and just get it done. And in a boardroom, in the boardroom, at the table in the boardroom, get it done. Then we don't have to hear about it anymore. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be awesome? As a hockey fan who's watched since the mid-90s, as every single negotiation turns into basically everybody throwing the papers in the air and going, screw it, we're not playing hockey. It would be nice not to see that this time. It'd be great. It'd be awesome. Montreal. I feel bad for Montreal. And I'm going to say this straight out. I feel bad for Marc Bergevin. So I think he believed he was making an offer to Sebastian Aho that could pry him out of Carolina. And I think he believed that Sebastian Aho wanted to go to Montreal. And I think for Sebastian Aho, if Carolina didn't match, I think he would have said all the right things about going to Montreal. And I think there'd be a lot of excitement in Montreal about adding him to a good young roster. They were apparently offering Jake Gardiner a 3-year, $15.75 million contract, which is a higher cap hit than what he's getting currently in Carolina. And he chose Carolina instead. And then an article comes out today from an interview with Matt Duchene where he says, yeah, I would love to have played in Montreal, and I have French-Canadian lineage in my family, and Montreal would have been great, but I fell in love with Nashville in 2016, and I love country music, and I've fallen in love with Nashville, and Nashville's my city. And I genuinely feel bad for Marc Bergevin because they've been the bridesmaid 3 times this summer. And all 3 situations, whether it's Gardiner, Duchene, or Aho, if they added those players, we could be talking about a Montreal team being that much better. So Bergevin is making the effort. He just doesn't have a lot to show for it. And I would watch and see if they throw a tryout, 1 or 2 tryouts to veteran players looking for a team, just to see if something sticks. I think this shows that Bergevin knows his roster needs a little bit of an improvement, and he's doing his best to improve it, and I expect that to continue. And I do. I feel bad for the guy. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And I do expect to see some more signings as we get closer and closer to training camp. But from now until then, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And I will talk to you again soon.